Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Sham Ashram in Cali, Colombia. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Tuesday. And speaking of arranged marriage Tuesday, we didn't arrange this, but we have a congratulations going out to our very own Zoomers, Sarah Koretsky and Doyle Krishna. Doyle Krishna. I almost said Doyle Garanga. Doyle Krishna, who got married yesterday.
Congratulations, you two.
They didn't meet on the show, although we do have some Wisdom of the Sages couples out there, which makes me think the Wisdom of the Sages dating app must start. And every time I joke about it, I get 1,000 messages that say, yes, let's do this. I'm going to start that as my own private business, Kaustubha.
As a business. Raghunath, why make
arranged marriages? You can go for like the premier package where you don't see them. You just get your charts done. You just show up and you're married. It's like Vegas. It's like, and then you have like a B package where you get to see them. You talk to them a little bit, associate for 5 days. You get a 5-day window.
Is the B package cheaper or more expensive than the first one?
It's more expensive because you have less faith.
Got it.
Kaustubha, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm selling some good jokes here.
I can hear you.
Then the C-rate packages, you get to go on a date, but you can't kiss.
All right.
What do you think, Kaustubha? I think there's valuable information in this.
I'm going to leave that to you. Just please don't do it under the banner of Wisdom of the Sages.
Come on, man. Loosen up your collar, please, Kaustubha. There's a whole world out there that wants to date. Okay. Hey, this just in, there's a massive spider over my head in a web, and we don't know what to do about it.
Let it be.
We're just hoping it doesn't. Yeah, it's one of those. Did you see the spider photo of a dead spider that Sri Govinda? I've never seen a spider this big. I thought this spider was big. There was a tarantula the size of a catcher's mitt. Which brings me to my next interesting information. Don't think, oh yeah, I'm never going to Colombia. I got news for you people from the United States. There are 3 poisonous spiders. One is on the East Coast, the brown recluse. They live in basements. Completely deadly. You can lose a limb from a brown recluse. Black widow. I used to have them in my garage in California, and I never heard this one about the hobo spider. Just putting that out there. If you start thinking you're safe, you're not. They're everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Share that. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. No one is safe. But I don't know what to do about this one. I mean, if
Let
you
it
think
go,
about
ignore it.
If you think about their web, it's like a work of art. You want to destroy that?
This spider is a squirrel, and let's just keep moving.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other announcements? Those were good announcements. How about like congratulations for the marriage? And there's spiders around. And what to watch and to watch out for spiders in your area. That's like valuable information.
Other announcements. We have a Bhakti Recovery men's meeting today at 11 a.m. and the women's meeting at 2 p.m. And then for Patreon members, tomorrow evening, Lisa Bermudez is offering a essential oils for winter well-being workshop at 6:30 p.m.
Warming oils.
We should mention that Thursday's show will be at 5 a.m. instead of 6 a.m.
Oh, right.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
you're going
because we're
back.
going on a kirtan training tubing adventure. You know, we're here with the new group, the Kirtan Academy crew. I love this crew. I love these people. They just automatically gelled from the day one, and we had a great first day yesterday. And welcome aboard, Kirtan Academy.
Nice.
All right, Kaustubha.
Yes.
Kaustubha, you got a nugget today for me, please? You got
I
a
have
tick
a-
knock knock for me?
I have a poem for you because I know that you are a connoisseur of fine literature and poetry.
I am.
Okay. And you have your glasses on, you got your cup of whatever you got there, and you look like you're ready for it.
Give me a poem, my friend. Give
So
me a poem.
this is coming from W.H. Auden.
Didn't we quote him once before?
No,
W.H.?
not that I know of. W.H.
Okay.
Auden. And the poem is called The More Loving One. I'm just going to read one verse from it, okay?
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
How should we like it were stars to burn with a passion for us we could not return? If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. Boom.
Kaustubha, you are a Renaissance man.
I think so.
Where did I find you?
Where
Do you
did I
read
find
poems to your wife, my dear?
Yes, that's what we do all
Compose
day.
this for you.
No, but I like this poem because it does for on different levels. I like this verse. One is that just the very practical, and I would say practical yogic idea that someone's got to step up and be more loving than the other, right? Like you can't move through life. It won't be successful in life if we're just moving through life as if everything were business exchange and everything has to be equal. You and I have known souls in our life that have just decided, I'm going to be the more loving one. I'm going to go out and extend my hand. I'm going to be the one that lives beyond, what's expected, and really be that shining light. So I think that's important. And I think on a practical level, it's important. We read from Martin Luther King last week, right? We had a nugget that spoke about. He was saying that. How did it go again? He was saying that along the course of life, someone has to step up with more sense, and more from a higher ethical, from a higher moral, from a more sensible platform, and cut the chain of hate. As long as we're saying, well, this person did this to me, so it's rational, or it's acceptable for me, it's justified for me to respond in this way. Someone's got to rise above that and be the more loving one. And in any relationship, if people come to it with this mood, I'm going to be the more loving one, then it's generally reciprocated. That it actually is reciprocated. People feel that, and they respond, and it brings out the best in people. But beyond that, from a much deeper perspective, from a much deeper point of view, it really does get. My understanding of bhakti is, it has to do with what are we doing in this world. You mentioned we're doing time in this world, and hopefully we're learning lessons. You mentioned that yesterday, right?
Yep, doing time.
And so what are the lessons we're supposed to learn, or how is it that we're preparing ourselves for the next life, or for the restoration of our, you could say in a sense, our original life, or our real life? My understanding is it really has to do with becoming capable of loving, like true love, and not the love of this world where it's always based on what I get. But true love means that fully selfless mood, and that's reflected if we go. Sri Chaitanya, we don't talk so much about Sri Chaitanya on the show.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah,
But he is really the access point to all Vedic studies, I find. Like, Hinduism was a complete enigma wrapped in a mystery when I first started studying all Eastern thought. I'm like, what? We're one, we're not one, we're different, the mystical things. Chaitanya, to me, his power was extract the essence of Vedic teachings, where we're going, laying down like the GPS for us to get out of town and get to the goal. And I feel like without Chaitanya in my life, my head would still be spinning.
Well, that's the thing. There's the practical level. In other words, he recognized Kali Yuga, everyone's a mess. He extracted from the Upanishads that the focus should be on the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Let's simplify everything. Let's focus on this most essential aspect of it. This is the key. And he really demonstrated that. But on the esoteric side, then on the deeper level, right, we understand that Sri Chaitanya is understood to be Krishna himself. But Krishna, and again, this is very esoteric, and perhaps that's why we don't speak about him so much. Because that esoteric side is Krishna recognizing that the experience of loving God, loving him, is more deep and blissful than the experience of him receiving that love. So he's like, what must it be like to love God? In one sense, God is the only person that can't understand that feeling of loving God. So in order to understand it, he comes as Sri Chaitanya, and he becomes a Bhakti-yogi, he becomes a Bhakta, he's trying to understand the mood, the love, the incredible, unfathomable love that Radha has for Krishna. And so that's his esoteric internal thing going on. And so he's an acharya in a sense. He established a lineage, right? He becomes the inaugurator of this incredibly important branch of a pre-existing Bhakti Yoga lineage. And generally, when someone does it, they have to write commentaries on so many books, and commentary on Vedanta Sutra and maybe Gita, Bhagavad, whatever. Sri Chaitanya never left any commentaries, and he left only 8 written verses, which are known as the Shashastakam, which are like an incredibly dense, profound collection of 8 verses. And I'll say like 2 of these verses in particular speak about that selflessness, that pure self. Like, for instance, the verse that we say that every Bhakti yogi is meant to wear around their neck, right? In other words, you always have it with you. It's always there. It's always close to your heart. Is Trinada Pisani Chena, Todor Iva Suhishnana Amanena Manadena Kirtanaya Sadahari. And that's a verse about like when your mind is in the right place and when you've let go of all of your issues, you can become deeply absorbed in chanting the holy name. And he says that it's by becoming humble. It's by becoming tolerant. And it's about showing respect to everyone, even if it's not coming back to you, right? When you
Which
let
is where
go
we
on-
got, which is where we went all week with the Bhagavatam, which is, we're not going around trying to get people to respect me. We're not looking for our validation. We are not looking for people to even appreciate us. We're giving appreciation. Someone wants to
Right.
appreciate me, I'm going to immediately deflect that and offer, well, you like what you got from me. I got it from somebody else.
Yeah.
Whereas materialistic thought is I'm completely desperate for validation to find my own worth. But our
Right.
worth comes from our contribution rather than getting a person on my left and person on my right to say, hey, you're good, Raghunath, you're a good guy. That's never enough. There will never be enough validation from other beings to make me feel whole.
Yeah.
My validation has to come from inside with a deep understanding that I'm a spiritual spark and I'm meant to contribute to the whole, not to,
Right.
yeah. The leaves
Yes,
don't
yes.
find validation from the other leaves. The leaves are connected by the roots.
Right, and we all serve that root, and that's where we find our true value. And when you have that sense of spiritual validation, that I am spirit, I am eternal, I am blissful by nature, I am the energy of God, then when you really have that, then you won't be desperate to find validation in every little exchange that you have, and recognition and appreciation and all of that. It doesn't become important, and you can actually become the more loving one. You can actually extend. But
Question, Mr.
yeah.
Kaustubha, question for you.
Yes, question.
So how does one protect themselves from falling into a very, very common pattern with people? They're selfless, they're selfless, they're selfless. They're selfless in a marriage, but they feel like, I've been taken advantage of by this partner. I feel like I've given so much and I get nothing in return. How do you do that? What's the difference between being slavishly codependent and trying to give more love? What's the difference there?
Right. Well, as we were just saying, this kind of stability that we're talking about it's based on divya jnana. It's based on true spiritual knowledge, true spiritual understanding, that I am eternal, I am spiritual, I am the energy of God. Now, that's real, and that's a foundation that you can build your life on. But that doesn't like deny the need for adherence to dharmic principles, right? If you're a wife and you want to live that and be the more loving one, and you do have a sense of my, spiritually stable essence, it doesn't mean that you should allow your husband to abuse you, right?
Sure.
You hopefully from that position, because you're stable, you can recognize this isn't working, Whereas if you are desperate for validation, you may stay in that abusive relationship, right? So it's not talking about abuse, but it's talking about a sense of magnanimous spirit, that in any relationship, I'm not coming from it because I need something from you. Now, a husband and wife come together, they make a commitment together, right? How they're going to serve together. Both partners need to live up to that. Setting those dharmic principles aside, what I'm talking about is a sense of magnanimous spirit that every husband and every wife that actually if both partners embodied, that would assure like the healthy relationship, really, that really healthy relationships are built on that. It's a sense of selflessness, so that's what I'm talking about. And we should have a grasp on that. And these verses they're not meant to facilitate some kind of, abusive circumstance. But that being said, like when you read Sri Chaitanya, like the last verse of Shikshastakam, it almost sounds like that, right? Where Sri Chaitanya is praying in the
I know
mood of
no one
Radha.
is my Lord except Krishna, and he shall remain so. Whether he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is free to do anything and everything with me, for he's always my worshipable Lord unconditionally.
That's right. So is that like a statement of what was the term that you used? Like
Codependence. Slavish codependence.
Slavish codependence. That's not what that is, but what that is the expression of absolute pure love. We talk about unconditional love. We throw that term around. This is actually what true unconditional love is.
And also, this is Krishna doing it to me, not my spouse. This is like, if my world falls apart, that's out of my control, and I've tried, then, I accept this is Krishna's mercy upon me, If someone I love dies, or if I lose my job, and there's nothing I could do within my power, Krishna, this is you're dismantling my material life, and I'm seeing this as for my higher good.
Yeah,
but if it's in danger to my child or in danger to my own body, then this is a misinterpretation.
Right, and to really approach a verse like this, you have to build up to it to really understand so much before you really get the essence of what this is all about. But as you approach it, the beauty in it becomes apparent. But even just in a simpler way, let's just phrase it like this, that as we move through this world, the lessons that we have, the struggles that we face, all that's that we witness in front of us, what we're meant to gain from that is the understanding that by design, my dharma, my essence, is to serve and to love, and that comes from a sense of stability, and from a sense of just selflessness. In other words, when I care about the other more than I care about myself, it's only in that situation that we actually become happy, that we're living our essence.
I think also the idea of service is, we got to be careful who we're serving. Also, we don't want to serve somebody who they themselves are corrupt. If we were in the idea of serving, is we want to serve someone who is also working towards liberation or working towards their spiritual path. I want to serve selflessly a boss who's criminal, or even a spouse that's abusive. And then we have to start to rethink that.
Yeah. Well,
our idea is we serve God, and therefore we serve the devotees of God who are on their, and who are not necessarily perfect, but they're on their path.
And that gets to, a couple of weeks ago, we were reading from Yoga Sutras, and also we'll find from other sources how a yogi relates to 4 different categories of people, right? So, some people, I'm going to show respect. Some people are I consider my superior, you know, and I approach them with a mood of service, you know, and respect. And some people are more my equals, and I cultivate a friendship, you know. And some people, you know, or some people may be inimical or so on, you know. I respect, but a bit from a distance. So all of those considerations are really important in our spiritual practice. But then on the deepest level, it's said that the you know, the Uttama Adhikari, the highest devotee, they really begin to see everyone as they begin to go beyond all that. And it's not that, again, there's the practical needs as we go through life, and then there's a very deep spiritual understanding. We shouldn't misunderstand it. We should try to understand it in the right context, and we should aspire for it. And even if we're not living it externally because of the social situations that we're in, we should try to cultivate it internally. You know, like, I have to deal with this person in this way because of my job, but internally I'm cultivating a mood towards them, you know, seeing them in another sense on the spiritual level. And then our life becomes quite profound, you know, if we can approach that. So in any case, I felt that this, just in a simple way, this poem did capture something of this, you know. If equal affection cannot be, right? If I'm not necessarily going to get the exact reciprocation that I would hope to get, that's okay. If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. All right? You there, Raghu? Are you frozen? I think that we lost Raghunath, and I may be the only one here. So hopefully Raghunath will be come back. If we're having a little trouble because it's been rainy in Kali the past all night, and I think he lost his connection, so we'll get him back very soon, I hope. And maybe if anybody's here, they can let me know just on the chat board that I'm still with you all. And meanwhile, we could. Okay, Raghunath, are you back? Here we go. Let's unmute. There we go. Hello, Raghu.
Hello.
Okay, you're back.
Got some issues today.
Okay.
You ever have issues, or is that just me?
No, I got my issues.
Come on.
But let's get into it.
We had another, this will never happen to Kaustubha morning this morning. The dog took my mic bag and cord, and when we woke up in the morning, there was cords and mic straps in the foam of the microphone strewn all over the front of the ashram.
All right.
That would never happen to Kaustubha.
It hasn't yet. I'm not sure if you're coming through that mic right now or not, but in any case.
I'm not.
Okay. Well, let's get going. You know, we're halfway through, so why don't we do the shloks?
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmadatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 1.
I think we got to be sorry. We got to be closer to the
cameras. Yeah, that's pretty close. So a new chapter today, Raghu.
Exciting.
Yeah,
the sacrifice performed by Daksha.
So now we get to hear Shiva's response, right? Brahma has come with all the demigods and brahmanas and represented them, apologized, kind of made a request of him. You know, Daksha was trying to do a good thing here. Let it go on, right? Let this happen. And come and participate.
Okay. All right, cool. Ready?
Yeah.
Text 1. The sage Maitreya said, O mighty armed Vidura, Lord Shiva, being thus pacified by the words of Lord Brahma, spoke as follows in the answer to Lord Brahma's request. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Father Brahma, I do not mind the offenses created by the demigods, because these demigods are childish and less intelligent. I do not take a serious view of their offenses, and I have punished them only in order to right them."
Sounds a little condescending from our
Well,
perspective.
he can be a little
But
condescending.
I don't even think it is. Yeah, I think it's just kind of factual, you know.
Yeah, I just chastise them because they need to be chastised. That's okay.
Yeah.
They're not that intelligent. They're demigods
They're
have these
childish.
material desires, and I'm just going to just slap them up a little bit.
Okay.
Once I slap my own, I meant get their heads cut off.
All right.
Lord Shiva continued, "Since the head of Daksha has already been burned to ashes, he will have the head of a goat. The demigod known as Bhaga will be able to see his share of sacrifice through the eyes of Mitra. Okay. The demigod Pusha will be able to chew only through the teeth of his disciples. And if alone, he will have to satisfy himself by eating dough made of chickpea flour."
You gum it. You gum it. It's got a lot of protein.
Sounds like you are validating Lord Shiva's desires. Okay. What does it mean to be able to eat through the teeth of his disciples?
That's well, okay.
Like if I have a disciple and they eat, then I get fed. Maybe.
I would think so. I mean, we're hearing that the devas, they're receiving the offerings through the sacrifice. There's something subtle going on how they receive what they get. I would assume it's something like that. It's on some subtle level. I mean, we're hearing about some far out stuff, and we should get into it. We just kind of casually blew past the idea that Daksha was going to have the head of a goat now.
I know. Maybe we should examine that, because they do things nowadays where they put like an organ of an animal in a human. Or even, first of all, human, they do an organ transplant. But don't they do animal organs in humans?
That's called Xenotransplantation, Raghunath, and it is a real thing.
Pretty impressed, sir.
Yes.
Xenotransplantations.
That's right. So actually, yeah, like if 100 years ago you would have read this, one might have said this is preposterous, and I think people still may say that. But the fact is that currently, and it's a very new thing.
What are they putting in?
They're putting in different organs.
Like what kind of organ is similar to a human organ? An ape? An ape organ?
A pig. I think pig is the most commonly used right now. Let's see. Xenotransplantation is any procedure that involves the transplantation, implantation, or infusion into a human recipient of either A, live cells, tissues, or organs from a non-human animal source, or B, human body fluid, cells, tissues, or organs that have had ex vivo contact with live non-human animal cells, tissues, et cetera, et cetera. So it is a thing. I think that the most common examples are taken from pigs, different organs taken from pigs. But there has been a heart transplant in an infant. I forget when that was. And there's been most recently, I think, just like last year or so. Oh, here we go. Efforts to use in the 60s, chimpanzee kidneys were transplanted into a small number of human patients.
Just for fun?
No, not for fun.
Just for... just maybe an experiment.
Yeah. So there's been a number of that, but I think just within this past year or so, there was a pig kidney attached to a human.
First man receives a heart from a genetically altered pig. New York Times.
So these things are going on,
Thank you, Ramit from Jai Yoga. Boom.
Now, that's one thing. We just blew right past the idea that, like in other words, it may not sound so preposterous that we get the heart of another animal. It's an organ, it's pumping, but the head, right? And here we have the idea that
it's coming, people.
And we hear the idea that Daksha, first he had his head cut off, then the head was thrown into a fire, right?
It'd be hard to go to school with the head of a goat, like in all the other kids.
It would be difficult.
Kids are cruel. That would make fun of you.
Well, that may be. And certainly it was a humiliation, I believe, But here are the questions. How was Daksha still alive if his head was cut off and burnt? And then he has the head of a goat put on him. Now, most people are going to look at this and just say, this is absolute mythology. Such a thing could never happen. I get it. I certainly understand that point of view. If we look at if we look at science as far as we understand it and history as far as we understand it, this seems like an impossibility. What
That's the
Bhagavatam
key thing, Stuba, as far as we understand it.
As far as we understand it.
As far as we understand it.
Yeah. But here's the point, right? Xenotransplantation is taking place, so that's a clue, that maybe this could be possible, that a head of one animal could be put on another animal or a human being. But really, I think to understand this correctly, in the way that great philosophers and impressive people, have understood this, is that we're talking about a different age. And it was an age where in this age, certain things that are seemingly impossible were not impossible, because it was actually a more sophisticated, more evolved age, a more well-developed age. And we think that that's impossible.
Yeah, we think we are at the pinnacle of evolution, and we say no. Vedic teachings teach that people were much more evolved in language, arts, cultures, goals of life, science,
abilities, powers.
And we're actually digressing, devolving.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we see devolution just like, over the past century. I mean, just look at architecture, or entertainment, or,
look at architecture. Like look at the architecture in America from 150 years ago, 150, 200 years ago. And look what they're building now in, Levittown, Long Island. That's our big, or the sun-kissed, right? The sun-kissed, like the whole San Fernando Valley. They're all just like kit houses.
Yeah.
So the point is, and they don't care. It's got nothing to do with direction. All these ancient structures you'll see all over South America, Central America, all over the world, they all had to do with, the celestial bodies, where the sun would rise on the solar equinox. It wasn't just random. We'll just get some plywood and we'll get some sheetrock and we'll just
concrete
put this
and glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we take the cheapest materials. We have the cheapest materials and we build these shoeboxes out of them. With
I follow this great Instagram thing called, put it up on the board, Mara, Megalithic Marvels. I follow this. Megalithic Marvels. And it's just like a whole Instagram account of like, how can this ever have been built? Just like massive, massive stones stacked upon massive, massive stones, like perfectly. And they're not just random, and they're not just stacked. They actually have like a tongue and groove. Like you need to like delicately put them in. So it's one of these things like—
Many of those temples, have mysteries. In South India, there's that very famous temple, but I can't think of the name of it. I believe it's a temple to Lord Shiva, just like a little south of Srirangam. But, like the top piece is like one massive piece of stone that's so heavy.
They can't figure out how they got it there.
They can't figure out how they got it there. So these people, they were scientifically more evolved, and they knew how to do things that we don't know how to do right now.
Architecturally, more. What are you doing? What are our greatest architectures building? It's like, and here's another thing. People say, no, we are moving forward. We are technologically advanced. But the more we find our technological advancement, like our greatest brains that are creating the cutting edge tools, they're all destroying the world with it.
Right.
In the name of progress, we're creating havoc in the world.
Well, we were speaking about airplanes last week, Vimanas, right? That an airplane was mentioned that it floats around and can do all kind of things. And our airplane, we think it's such a great advancement, the airplanes that we have nowadays. But it's said that people from previous ages had different kind of airplanes that weren't pollutants and weren't and were far more, that weren't loud and crude. That the planes of today seem very crude. Now that maybe take a leap of faith. Okay. But at least let's open up to the outside possibility that this can be true. And you see what we're talking about here is when this is happening, according to Bhagavatam, I believe this is such a yuga. I'm not sure about that, but that would mean it was over 200 million years ago. Now, a lot of people believe there were no humans 200 million years ago, but Bhagavatam is telling us something different. let's open up a little bit to it. And that at that time, it was a more sophisticated age, and that there are all these cycles of destruction and recreation and destruction. So where's the evidence of this? Well, you're not going to find.
By the way, because in my lifetime alone, they've pushed back the theories of how old human civilization was.
They do
In my
all the
lifetime
time.
alone.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
So here we are studying in school when I was in third grade. When did humans first appear and have agriculture, etc.? And then you learn it. You get an A on that test. And then they say, actually, we're completely wrong. Here's the new theory. And what good is even getting A's on this complete speculation? In a world where there's a bunch of like guesswork taught as fact.
Yeah, or at least let's say, okay, and then there are other people, and these weren't ignorant people. These are people that had architectural, mathematical discoveries and so on, like long before our civilization found these things. And they had faith. These weren't just like ignorant, village, people or something like that.
Neanderthals.
Neanderthals. These are like scientists and philosophers that left behind incredible things that even to this day we don't understand. So maybe they understood something about life that we didn't, and maybe we do need to expand, the possibilities.
Just a little arrogant.
And a little jaded, a little arrogant.
Arrogance just doesn't come in like the yoga community. You see arrogance. The business communities like Wall Street, you see arrogance. It comes in like these philosophical and scientific communities like, oh, we got this, we know this, no one knew anything previously. And it's just they're always correcting these statements like, we know this, and therefore it gets taught as fact in school.
Right.
And so we say, if you really want to understand the Vedic paradigm, don't just read all these stories and say, these are fantastic myths. We say could be. Why? Because we don't know. Our intelligence, our understanding of how the universe works is limited. It's tiny. We're like an ant trying to understand. Here I am in Cali, Colombia. An ant can't understand Cali, Colombia. He can barely understand the buildings he lives in. We are like that ant, and all we can do is create a lot of guesswork. Then that's the things that we can perceive of. The ant even can't even perceive of this Apple computer. The ant can't perceive of, is this a gas stove or an electric stove? The ant's not thinking like that. Even though the ant is real, the ant has thoughts, the ant has intelligence, it's beyond the ant's conception of reality. So we are like these ants, and we're trying to speculate about a universe that perhaps we can never know. So therefore, when you understand this Vedic thought, which clearly tells, hey, this is going to be a story. This is going to be a story to illustrate a point, and this is how it is. It tells you very clearly when it's an analogy meant to teach a point and when we should accept it as authority. Then we walk into this saying, you know what? We don't know, and we understand we are ant-like, and we may never know with these, with the facility we have, these eyes, these ears, these nose, these senses. So we say, you know what? I don't know if you could have a goat head, because I'm like an ant, and I may never be able to understand.
What about an ant head?
Another
tough.
tough.
Tougher transplantation.
Time at school. No, another tough time at school.
Okay,
So
but it's so small, it would be difficult.
People say I have bulgy eyes. They called me the frog when I was little.
No,
on the bus. Do you think I got frog eyes?
I never picked
Maybe
up
they
on
were
that.
more like that when I was littler. But they called me Frogman on the bus. That's mean kids. I'm still hurt.
All right, let it go, Raghu. Let it go.
It drove me to spiritual life.
Be the more loving one.
I got that interesting.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. Forget the chat board now, Raghu. Let's get back on this.
Okay. The demi. Okay,
Text
so
five.
anyways, we're still didn't finish 4, but the demigods who have agreed to give me my share of the sacrifice will recover from their injuries.
Okay.
Okay, so that's Lord Shiva saying, don't worry, it's going to work out.
Mhm.
What happened to the mustache?
You're going to hear about that now.
Oh, it's coming?
Mhm.
Those who have had their arms cut off will have to work with the arms of Ashwini Kumar. Say what? And those who have hands were cut off will have to do their work with the hands of Pusha. What?
Pusha.
The priests will also have to act in that manner. As for Brigu, he will have the beard from the goat's head.
How do you feel about that?
He'll have a goat beard.
Beard transplantation.
That's next. Now that I could sort of understand.
That's
we're doing
easier.
hair. I mean, let's face it. 50 years ago, if you said you're going to get a hair transplant, come on. Who would think about that? Take the hair, right? How do they do that? Do you know that? They cut a slice of a man's head, or woman's, I guess, take out the hair follicles and then put it in the balding area. And you have a hair transplant. It's quite fascinating. I should get that done.
Don't do it, Raghunath, please.
They're all saying yes here. Live is saying, do it. Do it, Raghunath. You look so much better. I could get the follicles taken out of my nostrils and put on my head. I got way too much hair coming out of the nostrils. That's a problem.
Okay. Raghunath, let's read the next verse. Okay.
Text 6. The great sage Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, all the personalities present were very much satisfied in heart and soul upon hearing the words of Lord Shiva, who's the best among benedictors. Thereafter.
Hey, so hold on. So why don't you read the commentary? There's an important story told in this commentary.
All right, I will. Text 6.
So it's amazing, but actually it said that all the personalities present were very much satisfied in heart and soul upon hearing the words of Lord Shiva, you would think there'd be a lot of mixed feelings there.
Yeah, I know. Like, really? I don't get my hands back, but I have to what?
I gotta live on
goat beard.
I got a goat beard. Okay, but let's hear what the commentary says.
At that point, I just shaved my beard, right?
Yeah, I mean that's an easier one.
That's an easier one. Hey, you're not going to get my beard back. I'm going to shave my goat beard off. Okay. In this verse, Lord Shiva is described as Midustama, the best of benedictors. He's also known as Asutosh, which means Mara.
Easily angered and easily satisfied.
Easily angered, right? Which indicates he's very quickly satisfied and very quickly angered. Don't mess with Lord Shiva. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that less intelligent persons, they go to the demigods for some material benediction. In this connection, Kaustubha, hot seat.
Yeah.
What's the verse?
Oh man. Oh, give me the first word.
I don't know. Can't remember.
Okay.
I think Antipatu Palantesham Tat Alpa Zamanasham. Antipatu Palantesham.
They have smaller intelligence. Alpamadism. Less intelligent.
It's 7 something. 7.
20 or 16 or something. Right, anyway, you got
and because he is always, you can't really put someone in the hot seat unless you know the answer. That's not fair, but I was sure you were going to get it. And because he was always quickly satisfied, right? She was always quickly satisfied, gives benedictions to his devotees without consideration. He is called Midustama, or the best of benedictors. Materialistic persons are always anxious to get some material profit, but they are not serious about spiritual profit. What was the story about Lord Chaitanya when people came up to him and said, please give me your blessings. And he said, yes, I bless that you will, your material life will be ruined. And they're like, what? Do you know that story?
I'm not sure, but it reminds me of stories of Srila Prabhupada like that. And also Haridas Thakur, right? When he was in prison and all of the prisoners were seeking blessings, and he said, remain exactly as you are. Right? Yeah,
remain exactly, right. Because the idea is that, and this is, interesting in, Hindu culture, Indian culture, the idea of a blessing is for a good thing. And Lord Chaitanya, speaking of the highest thing, right? It dwarfs good, is may your material life fall apart so you can understand that your real connection is with God, that your spiritual life is the most important thing going on in your life. And sometimes it takes a material, like a landslide, a material sinkhole for us to really grip the feet of God.
True.
Mara's like, oh, I'm going to write that down. It's a good one. Tattoo that on my neck. All right. Keep reading.
Yes, please.
Oh, yes. Here we go. The devotee. Wait. Lord Shiva.
No,
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Oh, you're so good. Mara puts it right up to the top of the page. Sometimes, of course, it so happens that Lord Shiva becomes the best benedictor in spiritual life.
In
It is
spiritual
said that,
life. In other words, it was talking about him giving material benedictions. And so now
Right.
it's saying sometimes, of course, it so happens that Lord Shiva becomes the best benedictor in spiritual life.
Got you. It is said that once a poor Brahmana worshiped Lord Shiva for a benediction, and Lord Shiva advised the devotee to go see Sanatan Goswami. The devotee went to Sanatan Goswami and informed him that Lord Shiva had advised him to seek out the best benediction from Sanatan. Sanatan had a touchstone with him, which he kept in the garbage heap. Can you look up under Wikipedia touchstone? Because the word's thrown around here a lot in Vedic teachings and these purports. And I want to see what we translate it to in English. Okay. The devotee went to, okay. So Sanatan had a touchstone, and it was in the garbage heap. On a request, the poor Brahmin, Sanatan Goswami, gave him the touchstone, and the Brahmin was very happy to have it.
So in other words, he came to Sanatana and said, I hear you've got this touchstone, which is, you're going to read about what it is right now?
Well, it just says a touchstone is an assaying tool, a stone used to identify precious metals.
Well, here it's being used in a different way, that it's something that by its touch, it can transform one thing into another. You can
It's
get
like a
great wealth.
magical
You turn
stone.
something into gold. And yeah.
Right. And he was really happy. It's like the Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Ever read that story when you were little?
No.
Oh, it's a good story.
Okay.
Have this magic pebble, whatever you wish for with this pebble. Did anybody read that story? The hell? Where did I grow up?
I don't know.
Amalini did. Thank you, Amalini.
So
All right.
anyway, this person, he went to Sanatan Goswami, asked for the touchstone. Touchstone said, oh, you want that? Yeah, it's over there in the garbage. You can take it. Oh, great.
Now,
Okay, I got it.
Now he can get as much gold as he desired simply by touching the touchstone to iron. But after he left, he thought, wait a second. If a touchstone is the best benediction, why has Sanatan Goswami kept it on the garbage heap? He therefore returned and asked Sanatan Goswami, sir, if this is the best benediction, why did you keep it in the garbage? Very good question. Sanatan Goswami then informed him, actually, this is not the best benediction, but are you prepared to take the best benediction from me? The Brahmana said, oh, yes, sir. Lord Shiva has sent me to you for the best benediction. Then Sanatan Goswami asked him, first, throw the touchstone into the water nearby and then come back. The poor Brahmana did so. And when he returned, Sanatan Goswami initiated him with the Hare Krishna mantra. Thus, by the benediction of Lord Shiva, the Brahmana got the association of the best devotee of Lord Krishna and was thus initiated in the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, sadly, you know what this story makes me want to do? Dig through the water. There's a touchstone there somewhere.
You missed the point, Raghu.
I know, I missed the point. Higher than any material benediction is this holy name, this sacred name. It's transformative. You think something can turn iron to gold? That's nothing. But I will say, in all confession, Kaustubha, and I don't know if this is considered a material desire, just like a fantasy. I've wanted to find two things in my life. I wanted to find my own cave somewhere on my property, and I've wanted to find a treasure, some type of treasure. You know, last time we went on that tubing trip, we're about to take another tubing trip. Yeah. Everybody was just enjoying that tubing trip. In my mind, I could not enjoy that tubing trip so much because I was constantly looking at the river floor for Aztec gold. Aztec gold. Must be Aztec gold. Pieces of eight. Doubloons.
I probably shouldn't say this. Mary,
is that materialistic? It's more of an adventure thing.
Should I say it or should I not say it, Mary?
Say it.
Okay. Anyway, you know how you've done these different pranks. Raghunath, I don't know if I mentioned on the show, but I think I did, that we had Genevieve and her whole family over, and Raghunath was telling about all these different pranks, including the long prank. It's like the big con, like from where you set someone up over a course of months. And then
Paramananda. I set Paramananda. It was a long-term prank. You got to invest in your prank. first.
So we were thinking of investing in a long-term prank with you, Raghu. A long-term one.
You were gonna bury something at Super Soul, weren't you?
Yeah.
You sons of.
Somehow we're gonna have you dig it up, and there'd be like a little chest under there, and you'd be like, "Oh my God, finally the day's come!" And then you'd open it up, and it would be some message in there for you.
Here's the deal about that. It would have broke my heart. It would have broke my heart. I'm glad you didn't do it. I'm into prank me.
We still may do it, and you're gonna be so bewildered that you're gonna be buying into it the whole way. We still may do it, Raghu.
Oh man, my wife pranked me good once. I can't remember it. I'll remember it and tell you. It was super funny, and it was one like it was worked out.
We got to tell the. Should you tell the Parman? Should we end with the Parmananda prank? I think it's so good.
Long. It's too long. It's too long. But basically, I told Parmananda.
No, don't. If you're gonna do it full on. Don't do it halfway.
Okay. All right, we'll tell that story later.
Okay, then let's end with this. That this story, there's a meaning to it. There's important meaning to it. The idea was that generally people are searching for material benedictions in life, right? And they may come to the point where they understand that material things don't satisfy. As a matter of fact, they cause pain. They may want to let go of them. And then people begin to search for relief, for peace, or you can say liberation. But neither of these things satisfy the soul. What really satisfies the soul, Atma Supersiddhi, what gives complete satisfaction to the soul, is ultimately love and devotion, and that begins with the root of all existence, with God, and then for every living being. This story is illustrating that this person, he was going to a saint, someone that had bhakti. He was asking for the wrong thing, right? Give me some material benediction. And as he's walking away, he's realizing, if he didn't value this thing, then he must have something far more valuable. And for him, it was the Maha Mantra, which is, it's non-different from Radha and Krishna themselves. It's the very object of his love. He gave that. We need to learn it, but in order to get it, he had to take the touchstone and throw it in the river, right? We need to let go of our material attachments.
It's a great story. It's a great story.
Yeah. And it relates to the course that I gave that's for our Patreon members. It's up there, this How Srimad Bhagavatam Clarifies Everything.
I'm just going to say this, Kaustubha. That is the best title for anything I've ever heard.
I'm glad you like that.
Srimad Bhagavatam. What is
clarifies
it?
everything.
How
the Srimad Bhagavatam clarifies everything. Right.
It really does. It really does.
You know, Saragrahi Dasi, she wrote here, you have to die to live. And in one sense, that's it, right? You need to let go.
This sounds like starting a cult right now when you say stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Everyone, take your life.
Everybody gather around. We're all going to die. We don't mean that like that, like Reverend Jim Jones. We're not.
But you got to let some of your aspirations die, some of your attachments die in order to truly live.
Sure.
All right.
Let go.
That's a good takeaway.
Let go. Yeah. Find the treasure inside of you. Why do I feel Jose Valdez is mocking me?
No,
don't mock my dream. Not a bad dream. It's not for material things, truthfully.
Really? What is it that you're expecting to find?
Did I tell you I knew a devotee treasure hunter? Tell you that?
God. No, you didn't.
They used to trawl him behind a boat in the Caribbean.
Okay.
And he found everything, man.
Right.
This is a true story.
Raghu, let it go. Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. All right.
All right.
That's all.
Takeaways from Mara.
All right. Show up in the mood of love. We're giving appreciation, not expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
There will never be enough validation from others to make me feel whole. Our struggles are meant to show us our dharma is to love and serve. In the name of progress, we're creating havoc.
Havoc. That's a great one. That's a great statement.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's for me. Well, there you go.
Control. We've almost made it through the show. We're almost there, Raghu. Mara's losing it. Now we're finished.
Mara's lost it.
We are ant-like and we may never understand.
Ant-like.
Sometimes it takes a material sinkhole to find God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Material treasures don't satisfy us. We need to let go.
That's a bunch of bull. Just give me one in this short life.
One
Give me
treasure.
one little treasure. And don't say the holy name. I get that. I get
your,
that
your
fully.
attachment is so deep. We're gonna prank you so bad on this, Raghunath, and you're gonna just
It
go
is
for
so deep, man. You can crush me. You can crush me with one fake treasure. Like I hit a chest and there's nothing in it but a note from Kaustubha or a picture
That's
of
what it is.
Kaustubha.
That's what it's gonna be.
A picture of you tipping your hat. Oh,
All right. Last takeaway. Spiders are everywhere and nobody is safe.
no one's safe from spiders. And they're ready to come after you while you're sleeping. Sometimes they come while you're sleeping. Ever see people walk through a spider web and you're like, "Oh, yeah!" What's going on with that guy? Because you